The desire for change is something we've all felt, like an itch beneath the surface of our skin or a whisper in the back of our minds, urging us to move forward, to grow, to become something more than we are. Sometimes, it's a quiet longing sparked by the monotony of everyday life. Other times, it's a burning need, ignited by moments of despair or dissatisfaction. But no matter how it manifests, the call to reinvent ourselves is a part of being human, an invitation to step into the unknown and discover a version of ourselves we haven't met yet. Buddhist wisdom tells us that this drive for reinvention is not only natural, it's necessary. In the words of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, what you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. This isn't just philosophy. It's a blueprint for transformation. It suggests that the changes we seek don't begin with the external world. They begin within us. Our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs act as the architects of our reality, and by reshaping them, we can reshape the world we live in. Central to this understanding is the concept of impermanence, or anicca. It's the idea that nothing in life is fixed, that everything is in a constant state of flux. This can be a difficult truth to accept, especially when we crave stability or cling to familiar identities. But impermanence is also liberating. It reminds us that we're not bound by who we were yesterday. Just as rivers carve new paths through landscapes, we too can forge new identities and lives, shedding the weight of the past and embracing the possibilities of the present. Another core teaching of Buddhism, the concept of non-self or anatta, challenges the idea of a permanent, unchanging self. It teaches us that who we are is not a static entity, but a dynamic process shaped by our thoughts, experiences, and choices. We are, in essence, constantly being reborn with every moment, and within this fluidity lies the power to redefine ourselves. The stories we tell about who we are, whether they're ones of triumph or trauma, are not set in stone. They're narratives that can be rewritten, reshaped, and reframed to reflect the growth we've undergone and the people we aspire to be. Thich Nhat Hanh, the revered Vietnamese monk, captures this beautifully in his teaching, "No mud, no lotus." The lotus, one of the most revered symbols of Buddhism, blooms in muddy waters, a living testament to the beauty that can emerge from difficult circumstances. Just like the lotus, our own growth often arises from hardship. The struggles we face may feel overwhelming, but they are fertile ground for transformation, offering lessons that can lead to newfound strength and wisdom. Self-reinvention isn't a smooth, linear process. It's messy, filled with moments of doubt, fear, and discomfort. But these moments are not signs of failure. They are the mud that nourishes our growth. To reinvent ourselves, we must be willing to confront our fears, to sit with our insecurities, and to recognize that they are not barriers but gateways. The journey requires patience, courage, and most importantly, a willingness to let go of what no longer serves us. The first step on this journey is mindfulness, an invitation to be fully present with ourselves, to observe our thoughts without judgment, and to create space for new insights to emerge. Mindfulness allows us to pause, to breathe, and to reflect on the patterns we've unconsciously followed. It helps us identify the beliefs and habits that have kept us stuck, shining a light on the parts of ourselves that are ready for change. A woman once shared her story of reinvention, describing how she felt trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and perfectionism. She constantly compared herself to others, measuring her worth by external achievements. But through mindfulness practice, she began to see that her harsh inner critic was not her true self. It was a voice she had internalized from years of seeking validation. By observing this voice with compassion, she learned to challenge its narrative and replace it with one rooted in self-acceptance. Over time, she let go of the need to be perfect and embraced the freedom of simply being herself. Self-reflection is the companion to mindfulness, offering us the opportunity to dig deeper into our motivations, fears, and desires. It's through reflection that we uncover the stories we've been telling ourselves, the ones that limit us, the ones that inspire us, and the ones we're ready to rewrite. This process isn't about judgment or regret, it's about curiosity. What drives us? What holds us back? What do we truly want, and why haven't we pursued it yet? A man who had spent years working in a job he hated shared how self-reflection became the catalyst for change in his life. For years, he told himself that financial security was more important than personal fulfillment. But as he reflected on his unhappiness, he realized that his fear of failure had been the true obstacle. He wasn't afraid of leaving his job. He was afraid of what people would think if he did. Once he acknowledged this fear, he was able to confront it, and with time, he found the courage to leave and start his own business. Letting go of attachments is another crucial step on this path. In Buddhism, attachment is seen as one of the primary causes of suffering, binding us to expectations, possessions, and identities that limit our growth. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing our grip on the things we can't control and making room for new possibilities. A man who had lost his job during a company downsizing struggled with feelings of failure and worthlessness. His identity had been so tied to his role at work that without it, he felt lost. But through the practice of letting go, he began to see that his worth wasn't defined by his job title. He let go of the need to prove himself through external achievements and instead focused on rediscovering his passions. This shift in perspective led him to a new career path that aligned with his values and brought him greater satisfaction than he had ever known. As we shed old skins and step into new versions of ourselves, compassion becomes an essential practice. Both compassion for others and, perhaps more importantly, compassion for ourselves. We are often our own harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards and punishing ourselves for perceived failures. But self-compassion reminds us that we are human, that growth is not linear, and that every setback is an opportunity to learn. A woman who had spent years struggling with body image issues shared how self-compassion transformed her relationship with herself. Instead of criticizing her body, she began speaking to herself with kindness, acknowledging the ways her body had carried her through life's challenges. This shift didn't happen overnight, but with time she learned to appreciate her body for what it could do rather than what it looked like. The compassion she extended to herself allowed her to heal and reclaim her confidence. As we walk the path of self-reinvention, it's crucial to remember that transformation isn't about erasing who we've been. It's about integrating every experience, every triumph, every heartbreak, every mistake into a version of ourselves that is wiser and more self-aware. We don't discard the past. We honor it as the soil in which our growth has taken root. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing ourselves from the emotional weight that holds us back and carrying forward only the lessons that serve our evolution. A man who had endured a painful breakup shared how this realization helped him heal. For months, he resisted letting go, replaying memories of what went wrong and clinging to the hope of reconciliation. But when he finally allowed himself to accept the reality of the situation, he experienced a profound sense of release. Letting go didn't erase the love he had felt. It allowed him to cherish it without being consumed by it. In time, he found peace and opened himself to new possibilities. Setting clear intentions is another key step in the journey of reinvention. Intentions are not the same as goals. Goals are specific milestones we aim to achieve, while intentions are the guiding principles that shape our journey. When we set intentions, we're not just focusing on external outcomes. We're committing to a way of being, to embodying the values that align with our truest selves. For example, a woman who wanted to reinvent her career didn't start by setting a goal to land a new job. Instead, she set an intention to explore her passions and embrace opportunities for growth. This intention guided her decisions, leading her to take classes, network with like-minded individuals, and ultimately discover a career path that brought her fulfillment. Her journey wasn't linear, and there were moments of uncertainty, but by staying true to her intention, she found her way. Visualization is a powerful tool that can help us stay connected to our intentions. By imagining ourselves living the life we desire, we create a mental blueprint that guides our actions and attracts opportunities. Visualization isn't just wishful thinking, it's a way to train our minds to recognize possibilities and act on them. The more vividly we imagine our desired future, the more real it becomes, and the more motivated we are to take the steps needed to bring it to life. A man who had long dreamed of writing a book used visualization to turn his dream into reality. Every morning, he spent a few minutes visualizing himself at a book signing, interacting with readers who were inspired by his words. This mental exercise not only fueled his motivation, but also helped him overcome self-doubt. When obstacles arose, he didn't see them as roadblocks, but as challenges to be navigated. His visualization practice kept him focused and resilient, and eventually he completed his book and held that signing he had envisioned. As we pursue our intentions, it's important to cultivate positive habits that support our growth. Habits are the building blocks of our lives, shaping our daily experiences and, ultimately, our long-term outcomes. By creating habits that align with our values and aspirations, we set ourselves up for success, not through grand gestures, but through consistent, small actions. A woman who wanted to improve her physical and mental well-being started by adopting the habit of morning meditation. At first, she struggled to sit still, her mind racing with thoughts of her to-do list. But she committed to just 5 minutes a day, and gradually those 5 minutes became 10, then 20. Over time, she noticed a shift in her mindset. She was calmer, more focused, and better able to handle stress. What began as a small habit transformed her entire approach to life. Creating a supportive environment is also essential. Our surroundings, both physical and social, play a significant role in our ability to maintain positive habits and stay motivated. A cluttered space can create mental chaos, while a supportive community can provide the encouragement we need to keep going when we face challenges. By surrounding ourselves with people who uplift us and creating spaces that foster peace and productivity, we enhance our ability to grow. A man who struggled with procrastination found that changing his environment made a world of difference. He decluttered his workspace, added inspirational quotes to his walls, and joined a group of peers who held each other accountable for their goals. These changes created a sense of structure and motivation, making it easier for him to focus and take consistent action. However, even with the best intentions and habits, we will inevitably face obstacles. Life's challenges are not signs that we're on the wrong path, they're opportunities for growth. Resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity, is a quality we can cultivate through practice and mindset shifts. When we view challenges as lessons rather than setbacks, we empower ourselves to persevere and emerge stronger. A woman who had been laid off from her job shared how resilience helped her navigate the uncertainty that followed. At first, she felt defeated, questioning her worth and abilities, but instead of succumbing to despair, she reframed the experience as a chance to explore new opportunities. She took courses, networked, and eventually found a position that not only matched her skills, but also aligned with her values. Looking back, she realized that the layoff was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Problem-solving skills are another valuable asset when facing obstacles. By approaching problems with curiosity and creativity, we can find solutions that may not be immediately obvious. This requires flexibility, a willingness to try different approaches, and the ability to learn from failure. A man who faced financial struggles after starting his own business demonstrated the power of problem-solving. When his initial marketing strategy didn't yield results, he didn't give up. Instead, he analyzed what went wrong, sought advice from mentors, and experimented with new tactics. His persistence paid off, and he eventually built a successful business. He credits his ability to adapt and problem-solve as the key to his success. Support from others can also make a significant difference, whether it's guidance from a mentor, encouragement from friends, or the wisdom of a community. We don't have to navigate challenges alone. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of strength, recognizing that growth often requires collaboration. A woman who struggled with self-doubt found solace in a supportive community of women who shared their own stories of overcoming obstacles. Through their encouragement, she gained the confidence to pursue her dreams, and their shared experiences reminded her that she wasn't alone. Their support became a pillar of her reinvention, proving that connection can be a powerful force for transformation. Self-compassion is another essential practice when facing challenges. We often extend compassion to others, but forget to offer the same kindness to ourselves. Self-compassion involves acknowledging our struggles without judgment, treating ourselves with the same understanding we would offer a friend, and recognizing that setbacks are part of the journey. A man who had been hard on himself for years learned the power of self-compassion through therapy. He had always viewed mistakes as failures, but with time, he realized that they were opportunities for growth. By shifting his inner dialogue from criticism to encouragement, he not only improved his self-esteem, but also became more resilient. When he encountered obstacles, he no longer saw them as evidence of his inadequacy, but as chances to learn and improve. As we progress on this path of self-reinvention, we begin to see how essential it is to celebrate the milestones we achieve along the way. Big or small, every step forward deserves recognition, because each one represents progress, resilience, and growth. Too often we're so focused on the end goal that we forget to acknowledge the journey itself. But transformation is not just about reaching the destination. It's about appreciating the strides we take to get there. A woman who had been working on overcoming her social anxiety found that celebrating small victories gave her the courage to keep going. At first, simply making eye contact during conversations felt like an accomplishment, and she allowed herself to feel proud of that. Over time, these small moments added up, and she gradually built the confidence to speak in public. By acknowledging her progress, she reminded herself that even small steps can lead to monumental changes. Practicing gratitude is closely tied to this sense of celebration. Gratitude shifts our perspective, helping us focus not on what we lack, but on the abundance that already surrounds us. It allows us to see our challenges as opportunities, our setbacks as lessons, and our accomplishments as gifts. By cultivating gratitude, we foster a positive mindset that fuels further growth and resilience. A man who had once taken his daily life for granted began practicing gratitude after facing a serious health scare. Each morning, he wrote down 3 things he was grateful for, from the support of his family to the simple pleasure of a morning cup of tea. This practice didn't erase the difficulties he faced, but it gave him the strength to confront them with a sense of hope and appreciation. Gratitude became his anchor, reminding him of the beauty in life even during the toughest times. Expressing gratitude to others is equally powerful. It strengthens our relationships and deepens our connections, creating a ripple effect of kindness. When we show appreciation for the people in our lives, we remind them of their worth and, in turn, foster a sense of community and mutual support. A simple thank you can be transformative, not only for the person receiving it, but also for the one giving it. A woman who had rebuilt her life after a difficult divorce found healing through gratitude. She made it a habit to thank the friends who had supported her during her lowest moments. Each time she expressed her appreciation, she felt her heart lighten, as though she were shedding the weight of her past. Gratitude allowed her to heal, not by erasing her pain, but by focusing on the love that had carried her through it. As we reflect on our progress and express gratitude, we also strengthen our belief in our ability to navigate challenges. This belief is crucial because the journey of self-reinvention is rarely without obstacles. But when we trust in our resilience and remain open to growth, we can overcome even the most daunting hurdles. A man who had spent years battling addiction shared how this belief transformed his recovery. There were times when he felt like giving up, but he reminded himself of the progress he had made, no matter how small. Each day he stayed sober was a victory, and each setback was a lesson. By acknowledging both his successes and his struggles, he cultivated the resilience needed to stay on his path. His story is a testament to the power of persistence and self-belief. However, the journey isn't one we have to travel alone. Seeking guidance and support is not only helpful, it's essential. Whether we find that support in mentors, friends, family, or professional counselors, having people to lean on can provide the encouragement and perspective we need to keep moving forward. A young woman who had just graduated from college felt overwhelmed by the uncertainty of her future. She wasn't sure which career path to take or whether she had made the right decisions. But instead of trying to figure everything out on her own, she reached out to a mentor who had been in her shoes. Their conversations gave her clarity and helped her recognize that uncertainty was a natural part of the process. With her mentor's guidance, she learned to trust the unfolding of her journey. Support can also come from community. There is strength in shared experiences, in knowing that others have faced similar challenges and emerged stronger. A group of like-minded individuals can provide a safe space to share struggles, celebrate successes, and offer encouragement. In community, we find the comfort of belonging and the motivation to keep striving. A man who had joined a support group for entrepreneurs described how the sense of community had been his lifeline during tough times. When his business faced financial difficulties, he turned to the group for advice and encouragement. Their collective wisdom helped him navigate the challenges, and their belief in him reignited his own confidence. Through their support, he not only saved his business, but also discovered new ways to innovate and grow. Yet, even as we seek external guidance, we must also cultivate our own inner wisdom. Deep within us lies an intuitive compass that knows the way forward, even when our minds are clouded by doubt or fear. By practicing mindfulness and introspection, we can access this inner guidance and learn to trust it. A woman who had spent years making decisions based on others' expectations shared how mindfulness helped her reconnect with her inner voice. For the first time in her life, she allowed herself to sit in silence, listening not to the noise of the world, but to the whispers of her heart. What she discovered was a deep longing for creative expression, something she had suppressed in favor of practicality. Guided by her inner wisdom, she pursued her passion for art, and in doing so, she found not only fulfillment, but also a renewed sense of purpose. As we navigate the twists and turns of self-reinvention, we will encounter moments of doubt and fear. But it's important to remember that fear is not the enemy. It's a natural response to stepping into the unknown. The key is not to eliminate fear, but to move forward despite it. to let it be a companion rather than a roadblock. A man who had always been afraid of public speaking learned this lesson firsthand. His fear was paralyzing, but he didn't let it stop him. Instead, he practiced speaking in front of small groups, gradually building his confidence. With each presentation, the fear diminished, not because it disappeared, but because he learned to coexist with it. Eventually, he stood on a stage in front of hundreds, delivering a speech that received a standing ovation. His story illustrates that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act in its presence. As we move deeper into the process of self-reinvention, one of the most important lessons we encounter is the art of surrendering to life's natural flow. It's a lesson that teaches us to trust the process, even when the path ahead seems uncertain or the outcomes unpredictable. Surrender isn't about giving up, it's about releasing the need for control and allowing life to unfold organically. When we surrender, we align ourselves with the rhythm of the universe, opening doors that rigid planning and forceful effort could never unlock. A man who had meticulously planned every aspect of his life experienced this shift when things didn't go according to his expectations. After losing his job unexpectedly, he initially felt lost and defeated. But instead of fighting the situation, he allowed himself to sit with the discomfort and reflect on what life might be trying to teach him. Through this period of surrender, he discovered a passion for photography that he had long ignored. He started a freelance photography business, and what began as a setback became the catalyst for a more fulfilling career. Surrendering requires faith. Faith in ourselves, in the universe, and in the idea that life's detours often lead to destinations more beautiful than we could have imagined. This faith is nurtured through practices like meditation, breathwork, and affirmations. When we take time to quiet the mind and connect with our inner self, we cultivate trust in the journey and develop the resilience needed to weather life's uncertainties. A woman who had struggled with anxiety found that meditation became her anchor. She described how, at first, sitting in stillness felt unbearable as her mind raced with worries about the future. But as she continued to practice, she began to experience moments of peace and clarity. In these moments, she realized that she didn't need to have all the answers right away. The present moment held everything she needed, and the rest would unfold in its own time. This shift in perspective allowed her to let go of the constant need to plan every detail of her life. Letting go of expectations is another key aspect of surrender. Expectations often set us up for disappointment because they tie our happiness to specific outcomes. But when we release these expectations, we free ourselves to experience life as it is, not as we think it should be. This openness creates space for joy, wonder, and unexpected blessings. A man who had always dreamed of becoming a professional athlete faced this reality when an injury ended his career. At first, he clung to the dream, unable to accept that his life was taking a different direction. But through reflection and support from loved ones, he realized that his passion for sports didn't have to end with his playing days. He became a coach, mentoring young athletes and finding a new sense of purpose. By letting go of his original expectation, he discovered a path that was equally rewarding. This process of surrender doesn't mean we stop striving for our goals. It means we pursue them with an open heart, understanding that the journey may take us in directions we didn't anticipate. When we approach life with this mindset, we become more adaptable and resilient, able to navigate changes and challenges with grace. Another important aspect of self-reinvention is forgiveness, both for ourselves and for others. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as condoning harmful behavior, but in reality, it's a gift we give to ourselves. It's about releasing the emotional burden that comes with holding on to anger, resentment, and pain. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the chains of the past and open the door to healing and growth. A woman who had carried the weight of betrayal for years shared how forgiveness transformed her life. For a long time, she believed that holding on to her anger was a way of protecting herself from future pain. But as time passed, she realized that the anger was only hurting her. Through journaling, therapy, and meditation, she began the process of forgiveness, not to absolve the person who had hurt her, but to free herself from the grip of that pain. As she let go, she felt a sense of liberation and lightness that she hadn't experienced in years. Forgiving ourselves can be even more challenging. We often hold ourselves to impossible standards and punish ourselves for mistakes long after they've passed. But self-forgiveness is a crucial part of reinvention. It allows us to release the guilt and shame that keep us stuck and to embrace ourselves with compassion and understanding. A man who had made poor financial decisions during his youth struggled with self-forgiveness for years. He constantly replayed the mistakes in his mind, believing that they defined his worth. But through mindfulness and reflection, he began to see those mistakes as lessons rather than failures. He realized that his past didn't have to dictate his future. With this newfound self-compassion, he was able to rebuild his financial stability and, more importantly, his self-esteem. As we forgive ourselves and others, we create space for joy and love to enter our lives. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it transforms how we carry it. It allows us to move forward without the heavy baggage of resentment, making room for new experiences and deeper connections. This journey also involves cultivating resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and adapt to life's challenges. Resilience is not something we're born with. It's a skill we develop through practice, reflection, and experience. It's about facing adversity with courage, learning from it, and using it as fuel for growth. A man who had experienced multiple business failures embodied this resilience. Each time a venture didn't succeed, he took the time to analyze what went wrong and what he could do differently next time. Instead of viewing failure as a dead end, he saw it as a stepping stone. His persistence eventually paid off when he launched a successful startup that reflected everything he had learned from his previous attempts. His story is a testament to the idea that resilience isn't about avoiding failure. It's about transforming it into wisdom. Cultivating resilience also involves taking care of our mental and emotional well-being. Practices like journaling, gratitude exercises, and spending time in nature can help us recharge and maintain a positive outlook, even when life feels overwhelming. By prioritizing self-care, we build the inner strength needed to face challenges head-on. A woman who had been juggling the demands of work, family, and personal growth realized the importance of self-care when she reached a point of burnout. She initially saw self-care as a luxury she couldn't afford, but when her health began to suffer, she knew she had to make a change. She started setting aside time each day for activities that nourished her mind and body, from yoga to reading to simply sitting in silence. This commitment to self-care restored her energy and allowed her to show up more fully in all areas of her life. Resilience doesn't mean we won't feel pain or struggle. It means we have the tools to navigate those experiences and emerge stronger on the other side. It's the understanding that every challenge carries within it the seeds of growth, and every setback is an opportunity to begin again. As we continue on this path, we begin to see that self-reinvention isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up every day with the intention to grow, to learn, and to become more aligned with our authentic selves. It's a journey of self-love, courage, and continuous evolution, one that requires us to be patient with ourselves and trust in the process. At the heart of this journey towards self-reinvention lies one of the most powerful forces within us: hope. Hope is what fuels our dreams when the night feels darkest. It's the flicker of light that reminds us that no matter how heavy our burdens may feel, a new dawn is always waiting. But hope isn't something passive. It's something we cultivate and nurture through action, intention, and a deep belief in the possibility of change. A woman who had lost everything, her job, her home, and her sense of purpose, shared how hope became her guiding light. At first, it was difficult to see beyond her circumstances. She felt trapped in a cycle of despair, unable to envision a way forward. But with the encouragement of a friend, she began writing down one thing she was grateful for each day. This simple act, though small, sparked a shift. She started to believe that even amidst her struggles, there was still beauty to be found. Gradually, hope took root in her heart, and with it, the determination to rebuild her life. Step by step, she did just that, eventually creating a life richer and more meaningful than the one she had lost. This story highlights an important truth. Hope isn't about denying reality or ignoring difficulties. It's about acknowledging them while holding on to the belief that they are not the end of the story. Hope gives us the strength to endure, the courage to take risks, and the resilience to rise after every fall. As we cultivate hope, it's also essential to surround ourselves with positive influences. The people we spend time with, the books we read, and the environments we immerse ourselves in all play a role in shaping our mindset. A man who had been stuck in a toxic work environment described how leaving that space transformed his outlook. At first, he hesitated, fearing that leaving would mean failure. But once he stepped away and surrounded himself with supportive friends and mentors, he realized how much lighter and more hopeful he felt. Their encouragement reminded him of his potential and reignited his passion for pursuing new opportunities. Hope is contagious, and when we surround ourselves with those who uplift us, we absorb their energy and perspective. But just as hope can be nurtured by external influences, it also thrives when we cultivate it internally through practices like visualization, affirmations, and journaling. Visualization allows us to see the life we desire as though it already exists. A woman who had dreamed of opening her own bakery used visualization as a tool to bring her vision to life. Every night before bed, she imagined the sights, smells, and sounds of her bakery, the warm aroma of freshly baked bread, the hum of happy customers, and the joy of creating something she loved. This mental imagery not only kept her motivated, but also helped her overcome obstacles along the way. When the bakery finally became a reality, she credited her ability to visualize her success as a key factor in manifesting it. Similarly, affirmations can reshape the narrative we tell ourselves. A man who had struggled with self-doubt began using affirmations to shift his inner dialogue. Every morning, he stood in front of a mirror and repeated phrases like, "I am worthy," "I am capable," and "I am enough." At first, these words felt hollow, but over time, they began to sink in. His thoughts became less critical, and he found himself taking bold steps he would have once avoided. Affirmations helped him rewrite his story, one word at a time. Journaling can also be a powerful tool for cultivating hope. By reflecting on our experiences, dreams, and progress, we create a space for self-expression and discovery. A woman who had been navigating a difficult breakup found solace in journaling. Each night, she wrote about her emotions, the pain, the confusion, and the glimmers of hope she felt as she imagined a future filled with love and healing. Looking back at her journal months later, she realized how far she had come and how hope had quietly guided her through the storm. As we foster hope within ourselves, we also cultivate the courage to embrace change. Change can be intimidating, but it's also where growth happens. A man who had spent decades in the same job felt trapped by the comfort of familiarity, even though he longed for something more. The idea of leaving terrified him, but he knew that staying would mean stifling his potential. With a deep breath and the support of loved ones, he took the leap. The transition wasn't easy, but each challenge he faced helped him discover strengths he didn't know he had. Looking back, he realized that change wasn't something to fear, it was something to embrace. Embracing change requires flexibility and an open mind. When we let go of rigid expectations and allow life to unfold, we create space for new possibilities. A woman who had meticulously planned her life down to the last detail learned this lesson when her plans fell apart. What she initially saw as a failure turned into an opportunity for reinvention. She began exploring interests she had once dismissed and discovered a passion for writing. Her story is a reminder that sometimes life's greatest gifts come when we least expect them. Throughout this process, self-compassion remains vital. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and days when progress feels slow. But self-compassion allows us to be gentle with ourselves, to recognize that growth is not linear, and to honor the effort we're making. A man who had been on a fitness journey shared how self-compassion changed his approach. In the past, a missed workout would spiral into self-criticism and guilt. But once he embraced self-compassion, he saw those moments as opportunities to reset, not as failures. This mindset shift allowed him to stay consistent and eventually achieve his goals. Self-compassion also means forgiving ourselves for past mistakes. A woman who had carried the weight of a poor decision for years described how forgiveness freed her. She had made a financial mistake that affected her family, and the guilt had been overwhelming. But through meditation and therapy, she realized that holding on to that guilt was preventing her from moving forward. When she finally forgave herself, she felt as though a heavy burden had been lifted. She could now focus on rebuilding, not from a place of shame, but from a place of hope and determination. As we navigate this path, it's important to remember that we are not defined by our past. Each moment offers a new beginning, a chance to choose differently, to grow, and to become more aligned with our true selves. A man who had struggled with addiction illustrated this beautifully. After years of battling his demons, he decided to seek help. It wasn't an easy road, but each day he chose sobriety was a victory. Over time, he rebuilt his life and found purpose in helping others on their recovery journey. His story is a testament to the idea that it's never too late to start anew. Self-reinvention is a journey of rediscovery, of peeling back the layers to reveal the essence of who we are. It's about shedding what no longer serves us, embracing what nourishes us, and creating a life that reflects our highest potential. It's a journey of hope, courage, and self-love, a journey that, once embarked upon, has the power to transform not only our lives, but the lives of those around us. As we come to the culmination of this journey towards self-reinvention, we realize that it's not a destination we reach, but a continuous unfolding of who we are meant to become. Each step forward is a reflection of our courage, our resilience, and our willingness to believe in the beauty of change. The path is one of exploration, discovery, and transformation, and with each passing day, we write a new chapter in the story of our lives. One of the most profound lessons in this journey is the understanding that everything we need to grow and transform is already within us. Too often we search for answers outside ourselves, hoping that external validation, achievements, or possessions will fill the void we feel inside. But true transformation begins when we turn inward and recognize our inherent worth and potential. A woman who had spent years chasing success in her career discovered this truth when she took a sabbatical to focus on her mental health. During her time away, she realized that her self-worth didn't depend on her job title or accomplishments. It came from the love and acceptance she cultivated within herself. This realization led her to a deeper understanding of what truly mattered in her life. She returned to her career with a renewed sense of purpose, not to prove her worth, but to express her passions authentically. Her journey reminds us that when we connect with our inner selves, we align with our truest desires and find fulfillment beyond external rewards. Connecting with our inner selves also involves nurturing our intuition, the quiet voice within that guides us toward our highest good. A man who had ignored his intuition for years described how listening to it changed the course of his life. He had been in a high-paying job that drained his spirit, but fear kept him from leaving. One day, he couldn't ignore the voice any longer. It told him to take a risk, to trust that there was something better waiting for him. He left the job, pursued his passion for art, and built a career that brought him joy and purpose. His story highlights the importance of trusting ourselves even when logic and fear try to convince us otherwise. As we continue on this path, we may encounter moments of doubt, fear, or regret. These emotions are natural, but they don't define us. A woman who had experienced multiple failed relationships shared how she learned to release regret and embrace the lessons those experiences had taught her. At first, she was consumed by the what-ifs and should-haves, but through mindfulness and therapy, she realized that every relationship had been a stepping stone to her growth. The lessons she had learned prepared her to recognize and appreciate a healthy, loving partnership when it finally came into her life. By releasing regret, she freed herself to move forward with an open heart. Forging ahead with an open heart means embracing vulnerability. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, but in reality it's a source of strength. It's the courage to show up authentically, even when we risk rejection or failure. A man who had built emotional walls after years of disappointment found healing when he allowed himself to be vulnerable. He started sharing his feelings with loved ones, admitting when he needed help, and expressing his dreams without fear of judgment. This vulnerability deepened his connections and brought a sense of belonging that had long eluded him. Another key aspect of self-reinvention is recognizing the power of gratitude. Gratitude shifts our perspective from lack to abundance, helping us see the blessings in our lives, even during challenging times. A woman who had been diagnosed with a chronic illness described how practicing gratitude transformed her outlook. Instead of focusing solely on her pain and limitations, she began keeping a gratitude journal, listing 3 things she was thankful for each day. Over time, her focus shifted from what she had lost to what she still had. Her gratitude didn't cure her illness, but it did improve her quality of life, filling her days with moments of joy and appreciation. Gratitude also strengthens our resilience, allowing us to find meaning in adversity. A man who had faced financial difficulties after starting his own business shared how gratitude kept him going. Every night, he reflected on the small wins, the supportive friends who believed in him, the lessons learned from mistakes, and the progress he made, even when it felt slow. His gratitude fueled his perseverance, and eventually his business flourished. He realized that gratitude wasn't just a feel-good practice. It was a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges with grace. As we cultivate gratitude, we also become more generous with our time, energy, and kindness. A woman who had once struggled with loneliness discovered this when she began volunteering at a community center. Initially, she thought she was giving her time to help others, but she soon realized that she was receiving just as much in return. The connections she made, the sense of purpose she felt, and the joy of giving created a sense of fulfillment that transformed her life. Generosity, like gratitude, is a practice that expands our capacity for love and connection. When we give freely, whether it's a kind word, a helping hand, or simply our presence, we create ripples of positivity that extend beyond ourselves. A man who had mentored struggling students saw this ripple effect firsthand. One of his students, who had once been on the verge of dropping out, graduated with honors and later became a mentor to others. This cycle of giving and receiving reminded him that small acts of kindness can have a profound impact. As we integrate all these lessons into our lives, we begin to see that self-reinvention is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who we truly are. It's about shedding the layers of fear, doubt, and societal expectations to reveal the essence of our authentic selves. A woman who had always tried to fit into the mold of what others expected of her found liberation when she stopped seeking approval and started living for herself. She pursued her passions, spoke her truth, and surrounded herself with people who celebrated her authenticity. Her story is a reminder that the most powerful transformation comes from within. In the end, self-reinvention is a journey of self-love. It's about embracing our flaws and imperfections, knowing that they are part of what makes us beautifully human. It's about honoring our past while creating a future that reflects our growth and evolution. And it's about understanding that the journey itself is the destination, that each step we take, no matter how small, is a victory worth celebrating. As we close this chapter, let's carry these lessons with us: the courage to take risks, the resilience to rise after falls, the gratitude for the blessings around us, and the love that starts from within. Let's remember that we have the power to create, to transform, and to reinvent ourselves as many times as we need. Because at the heart of it all, we are ever changing, ever growing, and infinitely capable of becoming the best version of ourselves. The journey of self-reinvention continues, and every day offers a new beginning. Thank you for joining this exploration of growth and transformation. May your path be filled with light, love, and boundless possibilities.